So, of course, we have three levels of government: the federal, the state, and the local level. The local government is responsible for the things that impact our lives the most. We fund the school, the operations of the school division, public safety, roads, public utilities, infrastructure, libraries, our human services division. It's the aspects of daily life that have the greatest impact on our day-to-day lives. And I think it's really important that we pay attention to who we're choosing to serve our community as mayor and as city council.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Discover Virginia podcast. I'm Joseph Trahan, your host for the #1 video podcast in Virginia, where we explore the rich history, vibrant culture, and iconic businesses that make our Commonwealth truly special and worth talking about. So get ready as together we discover Virginia. Hello everyone, welcome back to Discover Virginia podcast. Today I'm joined by Michael Berlucchi, who is seeking re-election as a council member for District 3 here in Virginia Beach. We'll explore his vision for the future, the challenges our city faces today, and how he plans to address them. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Joseph. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, before we dive in, we have established some ground rules. We won't be discussing other candidates today or comparing each other, but rather this conversation is about your vision and your action plan and motivation. How's that sound?
Great. That sounds good.
Perfect.
Took some of the fun out of it, but that sounds good to me.
Yeah, maybe off camera we can have some banter for some short form content. And for our listeners, just a friendly reminder during this series, for more information on local elections, please visit vpap.org, the Virginia Public Access Project, which provides nonpartisan insights into elections across the Commonwealth. All right, let's begin clarifying some terms here, Michael, because I'll be honest, before this series, I really didn't know what a council member did. Similar to before COVID, I didn't know what the governor of Virginia was responsible for. Can you, as a council member, explain exactly what you do, what your responsibility and roles cover, and what it doesn't cover?
Yes, happy to do it. So, of course, we have three levels of government: the federal, the state, and the local level. The local government is responsible for the things that impact our lives the most. We fund the school, the operations of the school division, public safety, roads, public utilities, infrastructure, libraries, our human services division. It's the aspects of daily life that have the greatest impact on our day-to-day lives. They impact our commutes.
Yeah.
It's the zoning categories throughout the cities, which impact our neighborhoods and our workplaces and our commutes to and from work, and what types of communities we live in, our parks. All of those are aspects of the operations of local government that are really important to our lives, and that's why you often hear about how local government is the most important. And yet all of the attention goes to, we're in a presidential election year, so
Absolutely.
Everyone's talking about the candidates for president and or Congress. And I think it's really important that we pay attention to who we're choosing to serve our community as mayor and as city council. I would also add that there's a few other things that we do that are very important. As a city council member, I'm one of 11, a group of people who, along with community feedback and connecting to the people we serve, formulate a budget for the city. The city of Virginia Beach's budget exceeds $2 billion. That's
Wow.
Billion with a B. So that's a lot and that's our money. Those are our tax dollars: property taxes, meals taxes, amusements taxes. All different types of revenue is generated through tax collection that goes into funding the operations of our government. And much like you've heard that expression, show me your budget and I'll tell you what you value. So those are the discussions we have. We have to create a budget that reflects the values and the needs and the expectations of the community where we live. That's one important aspect. The second is planning decisions, land use. So that's what local government is responsible for. Where to build houses, what the density would be, where to put commercial, residential, agriculture, industrial. Making those decisions with the community is something that is entrusted to the city council. So that's a very important part of our job. And then finally, and this is the part of the job that I really, really love, is constituent services. It's being responsive to say, my neighbor never cuts his grass, and it's causing a rodent problem, or there's a pothole in front of my house, or my trash didn't get picked up this morning, or I'm trying to get a license to open a new business or a permit to build something in my backyard that I've always dreamed of, and I'm having trouble. Can you help? And so that's an important part of my job, is to be an advocate for the people on our city council to the city government, to cut through red tape, to make life easier for people. Those are the things. I love it when I can help to restripe the school zone crosswalk before school starts, and make our streets safer for kids who are starting school for the first time. Those types of things when the neighbors say, I don't know if you noticed, but the school zone crossings are kind of faded in our neighborhood. It'd be great to get them repainted, and I can help be that advocate. That's the best part of the job.
I love it, Michael. I love it. And especially considering we live in the largest city in Virginia Beach, in the state of Virginia, but also, kind of the best city,
The best city.
For a lot of various reasons. Now, before we get into the
Are you from here? Can I just ask you that?
I am not from here.
That's okay. You
Born
still
and
live here
raised
now.
in Texas. Shout out to everything going on over there. All right. But fell in love with my wife and fell in love with the area, and just been here ever since. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of policy and everything like that, let's break the ice with a few rapid-fire questions, shall we? What is your favorite football team?
The Redskins.
Love it. What is your favorite beach in Virginia Beach?
73rd Street.
Oh, very specific. I like it.
I went to FC. That's where we went. FC, every high school has a street. I couldn't tell you what the other ones are.
Yeah.
But at FC, we went to 73rd, and I still do.
Yeah. Well, I always ask that because, like, a lot of our communities will be like, hey, what can I do besides oceanfront? I'm like, there's like 10 different beaches that I can name right now.
I like them all, but
They're
73rd
incredible.
Street, I'm nostalgic for 73rd.
Yeah. Favorite city to visit in Hampton Roads when you're not in Virginia Beach?
Norfolk.
And, this is a fun one, and this is just kind of tongue-in-cheek here, but in our lifetime, are we going to see through the Alaskan Road project getting finished?
Probably not. No, I'm just kidding. It has taken way too long. I do want to emphasize that is a state roads project. The city is not managing that project. It's being managed by VDOT, the Virginia Department of Transportation, and it does seem like it's taking a long time. Road projects do take a long time, and they have to build it while we're driving on it, and that's complicated. And yes, we will see it in our lifetimes.
Lovely. Awesome. Well, Michael, I wanted to, for our listeners here, identify your main priorities. Obviously, your main focus is to serve the constituents and our neighbors, and to take care of them in Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
You've outlined a few key areas, which is going to be the first. There's going to be a total of 7. So the first is affordability plus low taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, safe neighborhoods. Number 3, flood control. Number 4, supporting parents and teachers in education. Number 5, promoting a growing economy. Number 6, defending veterans. And number 7 is inclusion. So overarching.
I could add a couple to that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If reelected, what do you see your first 90 days in office looking like? And what immediate actions would you like to take given this list of priorities, or the priorities that you want to mention?
We're going to keep it rolling. So there's not. I've been in continuous service for more than 5 years. So I don't think the first 90 days of my new term will look any different than the continued service that I have. It's a disciplined focus on constituent services, but it's also I'm very hyper focused on the priorities that you mentioned. So. In January, we're going to start the formulation of the city's budget. So the priority number 1, affordability that you listed, will be at the top of mind and a top priority. We have to continue to deliver the services that we all rely upon, like waste management, like fully funding our police department and making sure that our community is safe from crime, and all supporting all the efforts to reduce crime and keep our city safe. And we have to do all these things, and we have to make sure that Virginia Beach continues to be an affordable place to live for everyone who's here, and for the people who work here as well and visit. And we can't make our communities, we all know the inflationary pressures that we're experiencing. Every household is experiencing, every person is experiencing.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we can continue to deliver those services, to keep our eye on the future, but also to ensure that Virginia Beach is affordable and our taxes are low, and we continue to attract and retain business opportunities for Virginia Beach. So those are among the things that we will keep on at the top of the focus from day one on January 1st, 2025.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, it is an election year for our federal government and also for our local government for the run for mayor. Given your list that we just shared above, which one of those seems like the most easiest thing to address or to overcome first?
None of them are easy, or they wouldn't be on that list.
Yeah.
Flood control is one that I think we have a very specific and outlined plan to address. I serve District 3, and I live in the Windsor Woods area. And that is the neighborhood that was disproportionately impacted by Hurricane Matthew in 2016. Did you live here in 2016?
I did not, no.
So you're aware, of course, of the floods that occurred
Right.
as a result of Hurricane Matthew. So my neighbors' homes were flooded. Thank God no one lost their lives as part of that event, but their homes were flooded, their property was destroyed, their lives were interrupted. And I see the impacts of that every day, particularly now we're literally in the middle of hurricane season.
Right.
It's a scary time for my neighbors. Fortunately, where I live did not flood, but it came very close. And I take the responsibility of serving those neighborhoods very seriously. And as a result of what we endured in 2016 and subsequent flooding that wasn't as damaging, is the city has developed a plan that will address flood protection for those neighborhoods and other neighborhoods in Virginia Beach, and in a very comprehensive way. It will keep our lives safe, most importantly. It will keep our property dry, and it will save us from experiencing those types of interruptions and trauma that we did experience in 2016. While we do have a plan for that, and the voters approved a bond referendum that would have fully funded the flood protection program
Right.
in 2020, we know it's happened since 2020. Inflation has gone out of control. The cost of everything has skyrocketed. And what we're looking at now, that was a close to $500 million flood protection program, will now cost $1 billion or more. So the easy part is knowing what to do. We have tide gates, pump stations, new infrastructure, piping, enhanced maintenance, all the things that we know exactly what needs to happen. A flood protection park that's being converted as part of the Bow Creek Golf Course.
Right.
Lots of exciting things on the horizon. The challenge is, how do we pay for those things? And we have to figure that out as a community, what to do and when. And as a servant of District 3 in the neighborhoods that were impacted by flooding, I'm going to fight so hard to make sure that those projects remain on schedule and fully delivered as we promised.
Absolutely, Michael. Thanks for diving into that. And just for clarification, it's like you said, it's not easy. What I was referring to is mainly what I would like to rephrase as maybe more obtainable in that regard. So with that redefinition in place of the items that we've listed also, which one do you feel might be the least obtainable given the possible changes throughout the local government and also just the lack of time that maybe exists?
I think we can obtain all of them. Some of them are long-term goals, and some of them are very specific and strategic. For example, the flood protection program, as I noted, we know what that timeline looks like. We know how much it's going to cost. We know what to do. Becoming a more inclusive community where every single person is treated with the dignity and respect that we each deserve, and creating economic opportunity and access to capital and access to wealth for everyone, no matter what your background is, or who you are, or who you love, or what your religion is, or where you come from. That's a longer process, and it takes time, and it takes initiative, and it takes dedication. So that's something that is attainable, but we have to work on that every day, and we are. We are redefining our relationships with S.W.A.M, small women and minority-owned, as well as veteran-owned businesses in Virginia Beach to enhance access to city contracting, for example. We have an incubator program as part of our economic development department that is designed to support small businesses and entrepreneurism in Virginia Beach. We're reimagining our career and technical education program as part of a partnership with Virginia Beach City Public Schools. So I think we're very focused on that. But the truth is, Virginia Beach, like every other community in America, has a complicated history and has not always been a place. I grew up here. I can say this. I know this. Has not always been a place where everyone has a chance to be successful. But we've turned the page in a positive direction. We have the most diverse council in the history of our city, and I'm proud to be so grateful to be part of that. And we're making steps every day. Yeah. But I can't just draft an ordinance and get it passed by city council and tell you that we solved that problem. So that's less attainable, and that it takes more time, it takes more proactive measures, but it's something we work on every day.
Absolutely. And, just speaking and highlighting that aspect of local government, I mean, it's what's closest to us. And I think in a lot of ways, like you said, it immediately and directly impacts the life and those lives around you. So just continually working on that. I like that. All righty. You were recently endorsed by the Hampton Roads Realtor Association, correct? Yeah. Yes. And as a licensed realtor, I have to ask, when it comes to, the current, when it comes to the future of our neighborhoods, the current attitude towards, the housing and buildings for the city, what would you say is more important for our city right now? Maybe building new homes and new commercial spaces, or rehabbing and better utilizing the homes and storefronts we already have? It's
the latter, for sure. It's in Virginia Beach, we're almost all built out. I'm a strong supporter of our agricultural heritage and economy, and I love the southern part of the city of Virginia Beach, the farms there, Pungo and Princess Anne County area.
Right.
And that is, we have an agricultural reserve program that's designed to preserve farmland. And most importantly, or not most importantly, but equally importantly, agriculture is one of the top businesses in Virginia Beach. A lot of people don't forget about that and don't realize that. Our agricultural economy is a driving engine for Virginia Beach. It's a very important business. So all that is to say, there's not a lot of land left to develop. We're not really building many, if any, new homes as we look into the future. Also, our practices have changed. So many of the shopping centers we're all familiar with, some of them are languishing. Some of them are deteriorating. And they're really poised for redevelopment opportunities. We have these big box stores that are in abundance, that people shop in less. And these create opportunities for us to redefine what those shopping centers could look like and how they interact with our community. At the same time, there is tension. We have a wide variety of established suburban neighborhoods with single-family homes, and people love those neighborhoods. And right. I support the integrity of those neighborhoods. I also think it's important that we should work with those neighborhoods to identify opportunities for redevelopment, for growth, for economic opportunity. But we need to make sure we are doing that in lockstep with our civic leagues, our neighborhoods, so that everybody has a seat at the table and can envision this path for the future together.
Well said. Well said.
Hey everyone, Michael here from behind the camera. Right now we're taking a quick break to acknowledge and thank our wonderful studio host, Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. When it comes to getting information and guidance on financing your next home purchase, we recommend talking with Atlantic Bay. They are one of the original lending institutions in our home city of Virginia Beach, and have a long resume of getting the job done well and making your home buying experience more enjoyable. So, if you're looking to experience Virginia full-time, consider checking them out today at www.atlanticbay.com. Disclosure: loan programs may change at any time with or without notice. Information deemed reliable but not guaranteed. All loans subject to income verification, credit approval, and property appraisal. Not a commitment to lend. Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group, LLC, NMLS number 72043, NMLSconsumeraccess.org is an equal housing lender. And now, back to today's show.
Now, on the subject of when it comes to, let's do veterans here. On the subject of veterans, more veteran focused, our military population. I mean, let's face it, like when you get stationed in Norfolk or in the Virginia Beach area, you kind of have to stay, right? Because those are your orders. But once your time is up, then those individuals, whether starting their next career or, possibly, retirement, have that option to then, move elsewhere. So I'm curious for you as a council member, what are some of the ways that you like to maybe entice or encourage people to stay put after their time serving our country?
I want the men and women and the families who serve our country to consider making Virginia Beach their home. And we're lucky to have them here for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Our mayor often talks about that Virginia Beach is a city of heroes, and we are. We are a city comprised of men and women who serve their country. It's the highest concentration. Our region has the highest concentration of active duty and military-connected people anywhere in the country. And so these are professionals who have dedicated their lives to defending freedom and to supporting our country, which is the most admirable thing you can do. We're also firefighters, police officers, teachers, public servants, utility workers. I had the opportunity. I was 3 weeks onto the job when the May 31st tragedy occurred, and I had a front row seat to watch the heroism and the dedication to our community that our first responders exhibited, but more than that, how the community came together. We honor the people who dedicate their lives to public service. We respect them. We love them. And that includes military-connected veteran families. One of the best ways we can entice them and encourage them to consider making Virginia Beach their home is to provide opportunity, economic opportunity for them. As we know, the military has vast swaths of people who are experts in all kinds of technology that I was struggling because I don't even know how to describe the technology they're part of.
AI, I don't know.
That's a whole other, very sophisticated things.
Very educated and
nuclear,
sophisticated.
radar, electronics, mechanics. I mean,
good skills. Good
aviation.
trades. Absolutely.
Unmanned vehicles. I mean, they're doing amazing things. And having all that talent here is one of our greatest resources. So we can, and we are, attracting and retaining businesses that are able to provide provide job opportunities for people with those skills. So that's one of the things I'm working on. I'm one of the liaisons to the Development Authority. But if I have a minute, I'd like to share with you something else that we did. We learned that the survivors of people who lost their lives in the service to our country were not exempt. There was a gap in an exemption from their property taxes. In other words, a Gold Star family member, their survivors are exempt from the property taxes versus if you die in combat.
Sure.
But that doesn't include families who, for example, die in training. And one of the things, and this is the first time I've ever talked about it publicly, to be honest with you, one of the things that I was very proud to be a champion for was to close that gap and to support the families of military service members who died in service to their country but not in combat, so that we're able to support their families. Virginia Beach was their home, and they have a network there. I can't even imagine what a family would have to endure when they lost one of their family members during a training accident or in another incident, but still in service to their country. And then they're confronted with the mortgage, with all of the other financial burdens, but they have a support network here. And so what we were able to do, I hope that makes sense. What we were able to do was extend that exemption, and it's a very small group of people. So it's not a great cost to the taxpayer. It's a very small group of people, but it's a reflection of what we value here in Virginia Beach. Again, going back to the budgets.
Yeah.
We have to stand up and support the sacrifice that families make in the service to our country. And to me, whether a person is deceased as part of combat or in a training accident, the commitment to the country is the same. And that's one example of many I could give about how, but just in the last several years, we've created an environment where we have their backs.
Absolutely.
In the worst situation, we do have their backs. We want them to continue to make Virginia Beach their home, and we love them, and we will support them.
Michael, I love your authenticity there too, because it's just that it's the right thing to do, right? Regardless of a technicality, were they in combat or were they were serving their country, right?
They were serving their country, and we're not going to let those families. I had a chance to meet with them and learn about their experiences. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. Their loved ones are also heroes. Yeah. And this is a community that will stand up for them. And I was able to feel confident in advancing that policy, knowing that that's the type of community we live in. Wow.
Lovely, lovely. Michael, thank you for sharing that. We'd like to turn our attention next to our extended digital family from our Facebook community. We polled some individuals. We asked them if they had an opportunity to talk to the next council member or mayor of Virginia Beach. What questions would they ask? We had a great time looking through them, and I have a few I'd like to run for you now. The first is going to be when it comes to the responsibilities that the local government has, where does the line and balance happen between, honoring and respecting green spaces and then, of course, working with the city to either expand projects or to revamp them?
So I would say one important tool that's part of this process is what we call the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is a guiding document that's formulated effectively by our community, our planning staff, our planning commission members, and then is endorsed by the city council.
Right.
It's not a rigid document that can't change over time. We want we want to leave flexibility for opportunity or for emerging conditions that might change.
Right.
But at the same time, it's incredibly important that we are able to be transparent and very upfront with the community about what the future of our city will look like, particularly around land use, which can be quite controversial.
Absolutely.
Quite divisive. So I think the comprehensive plan is a great way that we can all get on the same page, so to speak. And also what's so important about it is that we as a community get to participate in formulating the comprehensive plan.
I was just about to ask you, that gives everyone a seat at the table before things start happening.
That's right.
Right.
It's not the council deciding, for the community. We, all of us, have a chance to participate and have our voice heard as part of that. And so I think that's really important. And then it's really important to elect people to office, whether it's the mayor or city council,
sure,
who have vision, but who are also willing to listen. And I'll give you an example. I'm very pro-business. I think it's important for council members and for the community that we have in a business environment in Virginia Beach where that is very vibrant and active and robust, so that we can take the burden off of the residential taxpayers and that we can create prosperity and live happy lives and take care of ourselves and our families. So right. I think it's important to be pro-business. But where business intersects and negatively impacts the neighborhood, it's important to stand up for the neighborhood too. And as a council member, I can think of a number of planning applications that were in my district, in District 3, which is the area that I serve, which is Windsor Woods, Mount Trashmore, parts of Kempsville, Bellamy Manor Estates, Larkspur, Scarborough Square, Magic Hollow. I could go on naming neighborhoods, but so many great neighborhoods there.
Fun fact, there's 47 unique neighborhoods throughout Virginia Beach, and a lot of them are in historical districts, like you mentioned. So,
very special neighborhoods, a lot going on. And so there have been applications where I thought I was one way, where I thought I was going to, have a more, where I would be supportive of an application, and then I learned more, and I learned about the impact that business would have on the neighborhood that it was next to, and I talked to the neighbors, and I changed my position. or my position was further informed, or we were able to come together and address those concerns. That's what's so critical. It's having elected officials, it's being engaged as a community. Everybody should be, hopefully will be engaged. I know we're busy, doing our jobs and raising families and things, but it's also good to be engaged, and it's also important to elect people who will listen.
Yeah. So wait, Michael, just to clarify, you're not just sitting at your desk swiping left or right on the next best decision. You're actually going out and speaking with the neighbors.
That's
and
what you
talking
have
with
to
them.
do.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. And they come fast and furious.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I don't get caught up in the newspaper headline issues. Those are important too. And I'm not going to name, we all know what they are.
Yeah. Shout out Virginia Pilot.
Those are important.
They are very important.
Those issues are important that are on the front page. But you know what's also important is the neighborhood sign that was knocked down that we talked about earlier that needed to be replaced.
Yeah. We didn't get that on camera, but if you wanted to cover that again.
I'm happy to talk to it about
that happened recently.
It happened recently, but it's also important that the abandoned house that's not being taken care of and there's a rodent problem, that we figure that situation out for the surrounding neighbors. That's not on the front page of the newspaper, but that is important. It's important that you get out there with people and decide, is this application for a car wash the right fit for this neighborhood? Those are the things that drive me every day, but they're not the sexy things that are on the clickbait stuff that you see. But those are the important things, and I hope the voters will be able to parse. They will parse through all that. I think they do.
Yeah.
Voters are very smart, and they're able to pick up on who's authentic, who's not, what their agenda is, and know that who's listening and who's not.
Yeah, absolutely. So doing your homework, getting out there, both for the voters and also for you as a council member is extremely important to just stay involved and stay up to date, because it's not always in the headlines, right? It's it's amongst your neighbors. It's those talks and conversations you have when you're on your walks or enjoying a stay at one of the lovely Virginia Beach parks, right?
Yeah, who shows up at the Civic League meetings?
Yeah.
Who's there for the barbecue, or who just shows up at election time?
Absolutely. So, Michael, I wanted to cover this next because I didn't have it in my notes, but you had mentioned small business and business within the community. So if I may direct a question towards that, when it comes to the different resources that individuals have maybe for the small business owner, I think of like the S.W.A.M organization, or maybe individuals that may have a touch point at the Hive at Virginia Beach. What touch point or types of support do you as a council member have access to in supporting those types of businesses? Or is there a touch point at all?
We can, so often I help to facilitate those introductions.
Gotcha.
And I think that's very important. It's also equally important that if an entrepreneur walks in off the street, that they receive the same level of service as someone who a council member referred in,
Right.
into the
with their comprehensive business plan, right? It's the same. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a services for all people.
Yeah.
But often I can help to facilitate those relationships, and I would invite anyone who's watching to reach out to me. You can learn more about my contact information at berlucciforcouncil.com, or you can go to the vb.gov website, and all of my contact information is there. And just reach out if you have any issue at all, but particularly if you are interested in an introduction to the Hive or to our economic development department. I'm happy to do it all the time, and it's part of my job.
Wonderful. Well, Michael, turning our eyesight and gaze towards the future, if we look at ahead to the next 50 years from now in Virginia Beach, I'm curious, where do you see the city, and what's your vision for the city of the future?
I'm so glad you asked about 50 years, because we marked a really important milestone last year that I'd like to talk about in this moment, and that's the 50th anniversary of Mount Trashmore. Mount Trashmore is the iconic park that's right in the center of the district that I serve in District 3. I live near Mount Trashmore, and I visit Mount Trashmore often. It's the most special park for a variety of
reasons. And no, it
reasons.
doesn't stink, okay? They took care of that a long time
It's
ago
the
in the
funniest
80s.
name, and anyone who isn't from here is like laughs at it or whatever, and we all love it.
Yeah.
And Mount Trashmore was a municipal waste dump. And I remember stories that my family remembers it being, and there were seagulls flying around all the time like you see at waste dumps, and it was right next to 264, which it still is, and it stunk. And someone had this idea to turn this waste dump into a public park, and that this park would be right in the middle of the city, would be accessible to everyone, and that it would be the most visited park in the city of Virginia Beach, over 1 million visitors a year, most of them locals. Isn't that amazing when you think about that?
Incredible. From a pile of trash.
From a pile of trash, and you can do anything at Mount Trashmore. You can fly a kite, you can exercise, you can fish, believe it or not.
Can you sled during the winter when it snows?
That's the one thing you can't do.
Oh, okay. I was trying to catch him.
I was setting myself up for the joke, so you beat me to it. You can do anything except sled.
Yeah.
That you can't do. And there's good reasons for that. So
absolutely. Wait, so you can get out on the water too?
No, I don't think you can do.
Sorry,
maybe, if you have a
question.
boat,
Like if you had a kayak or something?
Yeah, sure you can.
Okay.
I think.
Nice.
I think you can.
Double check the Virginia Beach Parks and Rec website for that. Don't just go out on the water because Joe said you could.
Tell him I said you could.
Yeah. Michael Berlucci said I could.
You can actually fish, and you can eat one fish a month, even though it was a waste dump. So I'm going somewhere with this.
Yeah.
50 years ago last year, someone had this vision. They had this vision to turn this waste dump into a very special place. Mount Trashmore is like an old shoe. It fits everyone. It's comfortable. There's no pretension. You can do anything you want there. It's a place for health and community and connectedness. And I think that's a good emblem of how we should move forward. Yes, there are challenges. There are things that need to be fixed. There are things that can be improved. But if we can turn this waste dump into a beautiful park that's the most visited place in Virginia Beach that everyone loves, we will overcome these challenges. And I know that Virginia Beach will continue to be a thriving community with our beautiful beach and resort and coastal communities that we live in, with established single-family, suburban-style neighborhoods, with options for urban living, and a vibrant agricultural economy and heritage, and where you could still go and get farm fresh vegetables 50 years from now. That's the beautiful thing about Virginia Beach. You could do anything you want in Virginia Beach. You can live at the beach, you can live at the bay, you can live on a coastal area, you can live in a skyscraper, you can live in a suburban traditional neighborhood, you can be in an apartment, or you can live on a farm. And I think in 50 years, we're still going to be able to do that. And we're going to proceed through our more stickier points. We'll proceed through our challenges, just like they did with Mount Trashmore, and we'll come out on top.
It's not easy, but it's obtainable. Michael, thank you so much for sharing that and visiting with us today. Where can folks go to learn more about your work and the upcoming election?
BerlucciForCouncil.com. That's my website. It also has links to my Facebook page, Councilman Michael Berlucci, my Instagram page, Michael Berlucci. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. Hit me up on all of them.
Love it.
Love to hear from you there. And I really want to compliment you. This was a really great conversation. You knew the issues, and I really appreciate it. I hope I can come back when I'm reelected in January. Yeah.
Absolutely. And all the thanks goes to our dedicated listeners out there of Discover Virginia podcast for holding me accountable to where to go to find the next best restaurant, or where to go to find those hidden gems that make Virginia Beach worth
Let's do one just on restaurants. I could talk about restaurants for a whole hour.
We'd probably be better if we just went to the restaurants and ate and talked while we did that as well. Shout out to Michael behind the camera for setting that up for us. Awesome. Well, we'll see you all in another episode very soon. Thanks.